and welcome to Landscape Photography World, the podcast for everyone passionate about landscape photography. I'm Grant Swinburne and I'll be your host on this show, talking to landscape photographers about their motivations, likes and dislikes. In a short while, I'll be launching the inaugural Landscape Photography World Awards, searching for the best landscape photography out there and showing it off to the world. I won't be saying too much more at this point, as there's still some details to sort out, but I've lined up some very well-respected judges and prizes that will be well worth the cost of entry. This is by way of a celebration of the first year of the podcast. I'm very happy to say the podcast audience is growing, and I'd like to thank everyone who listens and follows Landscape Photography World on social media. It's wonderful seeing feedback from many of you and how much you're enjoying these conversations. Anyway, on with the show. This week I'm talking to Santiago Gonzalez Redondo about his amazing landscape photography and videography. Santiago is a photographer, filmmaker and content creator based in Melbourne, Australia. His work is recognised by its inspirational storytelling and connections with the viewer on a deeper and meaningful level. His vast background and knowledge of the tourism industry, starting in Argentina and migrating to Australia, has sparked his passion for travel and outdoors photography. Having the pleasure to work with international resorts and having his work featured by worldwide magazines and institutions. His work also spans across commercial and real estate projects. Santiago is a firm believer that kindness, integrity and sustainability are values to generate a positive impact in the world and build meaningful relationships with ourselves and others. We discuss his work and motivations, changes in the way that he sees the world since starting photography, and a whole lot more. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi Santiago, welcome to Landscape Photography World. How are you going?
Hey Grant, how's it going? Glad to be here and everything's all right. What about you?
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. It's awesome to finally get to sit down and have a chat to you. You've been on my list for a little while, and I know there's been a few other people in comments, etc., on the podcast that have asked me to talk to you. So, I'm glad you finally got to the top of the pile. There's a very long list of people to talk to, but why don't we start with how you got started in photography?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I said before, it's been a pleasure to be here. There's a bunch of talented people, not only in Australia, but also sharing the community that we share on Twitter. Myself, I started with photography for the very first time while I was working as a tour guide in Patagonia, in Argentina. So I worked in the tourism industry for almost 10 years. I was really lucky to get paid to go and see some of the most beautiful places back in Patagonia, from El Calafate towards El Paine and so on. So on one of my trips, I decided to purchase my first camera. If I remember well, it was a Nikon. Had no much idea how to use it at the time. And I still have some of those images, which unfortunately they're JPEGs. I think we all have those stories that I got some pictures from the really great places. Not only that they weren't probably the most aesthetically pleasant from composition, but also they're JPEGs. So if I want to go back into them and re-edit them, there's not much space to play around.
Yeah, not much stretching you can do to it.
Yeah, but definitely some of the fondest memories, because I think we get to see how we all started with photography, which is taking probably pictures from plants, flowers, or I think that was my case, because I was a bit more an introverted. I didn't want to bother that much other people.
So what is it that you're chasing, I guess, most in your photography? What are you looking to achieve with it?
I think that evolves quite often. I consider myself someone who gets bored quite easily of doing the same, with its pros and cons. I think at the moment I got two different paths that I like to pursue. One is strictly related to my aerial photography, which is trying to experiment with people, how to get top-down views of things they haven't seen or they haven't been showcased before. That's something I'm working quite at the moment with other athletes and performers. We're collaborating together I'm trying to get to show them from a top-down view.
Okay.
And I really enjoy it. On the other side, I'm a big lover like landscape photography, same as you. It's something that I like to wake up for sunrise whenever I can. And also I'm trying to find a way to involve more subjects into the pictures and try to tell a story through a still image, which sometimes is not as easy if you compare to video. But that's something I like to put myself out of the comfort zone. And I think directing people is something that I haven't experimented as much until last year. It's something that I really enjoy to work with others.
Yeah, cool. And have you tried to, I guess, sorry, I'm going to change that slightly. Do you find the, drive to make something distinctive and unique is sort of like one of the main things behind what you're trying to do? Or are you trying to copy a particular style and, sort of hone that to then develop your own style?
Yeah, I believe trying at least to do something unique, something that really resonates with yourself is the path to success. And I don't mean success in a financial way. I mean success in being fulfilling, to show that to other people, to friends and family. And it doesn't matter what others think. If you like that, the idea, I think that's already a win. We all probably start the same way. We have other photographers we look up to. We really like their work, and we might try to imitate either their color palette or the composition. But I think after a while, I think you have to feel confident enough to pursue what you like and to just trust your gut. And yeah, that's something I've been trying to do a lot, and especially with my aerial photography, because I think there's a lot of space to play around and many ways to stand out or to try to differentiate yourself.
Sure. And in terms of what you said about success, I mean, you said it doesn't mean a great deal to you from a commercial perspective. Are you looking to make money out of photography, or is it more on the hobby side of things, and you're just sort of doing it as I guess I don't want to call it just a form of entertainment, because it's obviously more than that. But is it something that is more of a hobby or something that's more of a profession for you?
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to turn my hobby into a career around 7 months ago, which started freelancing. I do not only work with photography; I work mainly with video when it comes to client work. And that's something that I never expected. But I believe for someone who wants to get into a creative pursuit linked to photography, I can't recommend enough to try some video, because there's another kind of service that you can offer, another way to stand out from the crowd. And personally, I find it there's a greater way to share a story with video, whereas with images, you still can. But I think you're a bit more limited.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I guess in terms of that limitation, and the differences, I guess, in terms of the time it takes for setting up shots, the time it takes for editing, etc. Do you find that video is soaking up much more of your time than it would from a stills photography perspective, or is it still kind of 50-50?
I think it's not up to video or to photo. It's more up if it's client work or not. I found myself lately having less time to have 1 or 2 hours to edit some of the images that I have sitting on my hard drive for a while, which is something I try to do at least every second day. But I wish I could have 2 hours every single day to kind of sit down, find a picture, which probably have heaps of them that I haven't touched yet.
Yep.
And spend hours trying new techniques or fine tuning colors. But yeah, I kind of miss those moments when it's just a hobby that you actually have the time to do that without any pressure. It's just your own pressure to get the colors or to get the kind of picture that you like. Whereas the moment I'm trying to juggle between editing as much commercial work, but also having that time to edit for myself, because I really appreciate it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, sure. What are you trying to communicate with your photography? I guess what are the things that you're trying to express through your personal photography?
Probably through my photography, I would say I consider myself mainly a landscape travel / outdoor photographer. So I want to encourage other people to go out, to explore, to take like those extra half an hour, 45 minutes when you go somewhere to really soak up the whole experience. And if you want to document that, just go do it. Doesn't matter if it's with a phone, if it's with a camera, if it's with a drone. I think most of the people, they want to document moments, but not many, they want to take their time to do so, or they don't want to take the chance. Then when it comes to my video, I think that's when it comes like the stronger message to me. I want to get people to really feel like adventurous, to really feel like nothing is like out of our achievement. That I think like everyone has like things they try to pursue, and maybe because of the everyday life we don't do it. And those are mainly the messages that I want to share through video. And I think that's where I find the space and the time to get like a more meaningful message.
Yeah, got it. So it's, I guess, more that experience and, you know, the feeling of being there is what you're sort of driving at, yeah?
Yeah, and I think it comes as well to like the way of feeling kind of like forever young, you know, like it doesn't matter how old we are. Like I started a new career like with 30s, and like back at the time I would have thought, okay, at my 30s I would have had like this and that, where I should be this certain way. And then I realized it's never too late to like try something new. It's never too late to start a new career, to start a new relationship. I think those are the kind of like myth that I want to break, because I have like those limiting beliefs myself, and I want to share it to others in case they're experiencing the same.
Yeah, sure. So where are your favorite locations to shoot?
Here in Victoria, the Black Spur, in the Yarra Valley. Every time I go there, my girlfriend, she's like, okay, you're going there again? How many times have you been there? And at sunrise, so you're gonna wake up at 5 a.m. So yeah, I think I go there at least like once a month.
Okay.
Because we always get like different conditions, like either more sunny or a bit more foggy. And actually the last time I went there, which was like 2 weeks ago, it was mind-blowing. Best conditions I ever had.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So what is it for those that don't know Black Spur? I've driven it myself, and unfortunately I was passing through and couldn't stop to take the time to take any photos myself. But for people that are unfamiliar with the area, do you want to give them a bit of a description about what the Black Spur is all about?
Yeah, the Black Spur Drive is in the Yarra Ranges, which is a forest in the, I think it's like an hour and a half away from Melbourne on the
northeast, roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a winding road, which like you have like two ways of like towering trees, like flanking right next to the road. You can take like any detour and find your way through the trees, and you end up in a really small, beautiful road covered with fog, and like with the first rays of sunlight hitting through the trees, and it's beautiful. Yeah. There's a sense of like stillness and calm that like, it's wonderful.
Apart from all the photographers that are there.
yeah, I've been lucky. Maybe I'm going to the wrong spot, but every time
or maybe the right spots.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But yeah, I went with Chester Seashots. I went with Tom Kwan a few times. Actually, last time we went together, it was Peace and Rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, I haven't encountered as many other people shooting on a Sunday morning.
Okay. So talking about that, I mean, obviously that environmental, I guess, aspect to your work is quite important. What does the environment mean to you, and you know, what is it that makes you want to capture it?
We live in such a beautiful word, which is a cliche at this point, but we give so many things for granted, you know? I don't know, it's just like the seasons itself, you know, we go from winter to summer to spring, like the moon phases. And I think we are so connected to the universe and to nature, which it's only just fair to like kind of like pay tribute to that and try to share it and to promote a way that people, they can go out, explore it in a sustainable way. And that also comes to my time working in the tourism industry. I always wanted to promote a sort of tourism that really creates an impact in the local community.
Yep.
I don't want to be a traveler that goes to Egypt and goes to McDonald's, you know. I want to go to Egypt and I want to go and support the small business that sells the local food. I think, it's always good to try to like encourage people to have the same practices. Then each to their own. You're free to do what you feel like. But there are so many minorities in the world that they need support, and they're also really connected to their environment. We had a chance to travel and to promote it, I think we should do it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. I think it's really important when you're visiting another country in particular, but even, you know, local communities, you know, in your own country, that you're supporting the local businesses, you know, supporting the multinationals. They get enough money and support now. You know, far better to go and buy a pie at the local pie shop than it is to go to McDonald's, as you said, you know.
Well, you know, 7-Eleven comes handy every now and then.
Oh, yeah, now and then.
I try to avoid it if I can.
Yeah, I hear you. So, you know, I guess starting out in Argentina, why don't you talk a little bit about how that, you know, sort of career choice came about, first off, getting into tourism and tour guiding, and, you know, give us a bit of a flavour of some of the experiences that you've had over there.
Yeah. Well, that was a while ago. I finished high school, and I think pretty much like everyone, I had no idea what to do. I was lucky enough to speak German and a little bit of English at the time because I went to a German school. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine, he said, "Hey, you like to travel? You like to talk as well, so you can go and work as a tour guide." I'm studying the same. He was like 2 years older than me.
Yep.
So I just got it. I went to study there. Then I feel like I was getting to know like some hidden spots of Buenos Aires, which is my hometown. Mm-hmm. And then I had a chance to go show that to people coming from Germany, Austria, and other places. And then I went all in. I applied to work for a German company that they used to run expeditions in Patagonia. Okay. So I used to go pick the crew at the airport. Then we used to travel for 2 weeks around Patagonia, Chile, and Argentina at the same time. And that was, to me, mind-blowing. I think I was like 20, 21. I was, of course, on charge of like a group of 15 people. But we're going to some of the greatest places in Argentina that even at the time, I had no idea they existed. Yeah. Massive glaciers. We're doing like hiking routes in Torres del Paine. And probably at the time, I didn't enjoy it as much as I would probably right now. As I said, we usually give for granted so many things. But the fact that I had the freedom and the chance to get paid to travel and to see those places, it was a one-of-a-kind experience.
Yeah, amazing. In terms of, you know, taking that career step, I guess, you know, you obviously came over here to Australia. You know, what made you come to Australia, and, you know, talk to us a little bit about that. And then I'd also like to, you know, talk to you a little bit about your decision to go full-time photography, and, you know, how that came about and what sort of drove that decision.
I ended up in Australia also thanks to a friend of mine. I was really into traveling at the time. After traveling to Patagonia, I went to live in France for almost 2 years, backpacking in Europe for another 6 months. And when I came back to Argentina, I knew I was just going to stay there for maybe like half a year or like a full year, but I already had in mind where to go next. So New Zealand was on top of my list. But I came back home. I met a friend of mine who was in New Zealand, and then he went for a few months to Australia, and he was going back on a working holiday visa. So he told me, "Hey, Santi, just get a working holiday visa. We go there together, we travel, and the rest is history." So I came here. I already had on mind that I didn't want to work in the tourism industry. I was a little bit burned out from the customer service perspective.
Sure.
And I knew I liked photography, but I wasn't taking it as a career choice at the time. So it was like 6 years ago. So it's been quite a ride. So yeah, I came here as a backpacker, got a job in a restaurant. Then I think I work in construction a little bit. I work a bit in the tourism industry up in Cairns. And then when I came back to Melbourne after traveling in Southeast Asia, because I took 6 months off to travel there, then I knew that photography was really itching and it was something else, because I spent every single day in Southeast Asia just taking pictures.
Yeah, right.
It was probably one of the first times in my life which I had like any commitments, no financial pressure. I found myself like carrying my camera. It was just a Canon with a nifty 50, but I was taking my portrait, landscape, any sort of picture with that. And then when I came back, I decided I wanted to give it a go, or I wanted to explore a bit more with my photography.
Yeah, okay. So how hard was it, I guess, to make that decision to go full-time photography? Was it just natural and it felt like the right thing to do, or was it a harder decision?
I think it was slowly taking shape. When I came back, I knew I had still like a good fare to go about like learning not only about like camera settings, but also about like composition, lighting, which I think is something that not many people take into consideration, but they're like light is probably the key feature to photography. So I was taking some small gigs for friends of mine, stuff like that. And it was beginning of 2020, which I felt confident that I wanted to pursue full time, but then COVID happens. So yeah, that year and a half, it was probably the best time to start a new career. I was lucky enough that I had a job which I could still work for that year and a half, but same every single day coming back home without having like any noise or distraction from the outside world. I really polished my editing skills, business skills, because I wanted to be ready for when things get back to normal to actually present myself as a professional. Because I think that's one of the main obstacles for photographers or artists just starting. You need to learn all the business skills that probably most of us we lack until we come across those obstacles.
Yeah, it's something that I myself am sort of struggling with, but also I hear a lot from full-time photographers is balancing that time between the admin, the marketing, the product creation itself, and the passion itself for photography. And I guess I'm interested in how people juggle those, aspects of working in the industry and how they, get that, I guess, how do you get that balance right? And what sort of tricks and traps have you identified along the way?
Yeah. Well, I think, like balance is more like a utopia. We try to achieve it, and it's I think in every single aspect in life. But yeah, I think it's about like prioritizing what's most important in your list. If I could, I would spend like 24/7 just editing drone pictures, like I'll be every single day, but that wouldn't take me really far from a business perspective. So yeah, I think it's that basically. I have like, I try to build like healthy habits in terms of like, what time do I wake up? What task do I do in the morning or in the afternoon according to my internal clocks? Some people are more like night owls. Some other ones like me, I'm an early riser. I don't feel that creative at night because I already feel like a bit like tired or overwhelmed. Sure. And then on the other side, I think it's like building pitch decks or building presentations for customers, or learning how to do cold calls, or learning how to send a few emails, or how to network. Those are all things that you can find them on manuals or you can learn from other people, but at the same time, we all go through different like experiences. And like, I think like when you're just starting out, like for example, like myself, every single step of the business is a lesson. You might have like a bad experience with a customer. That's a lesson. You might have a really good one. That's always a lesson. I think that's the best approach, to always have a few takeaways from your jobs.
Totally agree. It's the same for me, when it comes, people ask me about, photography and learning photography, etc. I've had a few clients on workshops and so forth ask me, so, how do you get to a point where you feel comfortable? And I said, well, don't ever aspire to get comfortable, because if you're not learning all the time, then, you might as well give up doing it. Because for me, it's really important, both from the business, but also from the actual photographic perspective, to, keep that learning, keep that open mind, and keep that learning philosophy, I guess, going the whole time, and not just sort of say, all right, well, I've made it. I can be comfortable. I can sit back and call myself an expert photographer and, expert businessman, etc.
Yeah. And also the fact that every single niche of photography is completely different. There are
Absolutely.
some different techniques to apply, from portraits to landscape to interior photographer. And when you're freelancing, and I try to niche down to a few industry, but like sometimes I get like some gigs that probably I never expected. But if I really feel them, they're like a challenge, I'll be happy to take on those.
Yeah. No, that's exactly the right attitude, I think. I guess, what's the most important thing you think to remember about marketing both your personal brand but also your business's brand?
From a personal brand, I think it is important sometimes to niche down a little bit, to people to recognize you by, not just by a genre, but like more for like a way of, people, they see your pictures and they don't have to read the name.
Yeah.
This is something that first people that comes to my mind, and I really admire, is like Mary Watson. I can go see her picture in like any travel blog or like in any website, and I see those pictures, and I know, because of the tones and like the dreamy vibes, that's her signature. So I think once you achieve that from a personal brand in the photography space, that's already a great step, because you have created something unique that sets you apart from the rest.
Yeah.
Then from a business perspective, then I think it's important to learn how you want to tackle it. If you want to tackle as a freelancer, or if you want to tackle as a company. And I think those are two different ways to pursue. To me, at the moment, I feel really confident working as a freelancer or networking with others, which goes really linked to my personal brand. So everything I do is under my name, under my creative direction realm. But probably working as a company in the future is something I don't discard either.
Yeah, cool. I guess what about the aspects of having different income streams, so diversifying, not just your portfolio of work, so people can see, okay, well, you can do interior photography, you can do portraits, etc. But I'm talking about actually the business structural side of things. How do you go about that, diversification of income streams itself?
It is a great topic to touch on. I think it's very important. Through COVID, whether you are a photographer or not, like I think most of the people, they were affected at some point with their income. And the ones they have been less affected were the ones they actually had several streams of income. As a creator, I think there's many. They don't happen overnight. It's the same as building a style or like becoming a good photographer. It's something that takes time. So I can mention, like, for people listening, I can mention, I don't know, like stock footage, licensing footage, prints, digital products, influencer. But there are so many that I think like it's important when you're starting to just pick a few and to commit to those for like a decent amount of time, because otherwise you're gonna do like, okay, like writing a blog could be good. So you're gonna try a blog for 1-2 months, it won't work out, then you're gonna jump into something else. And if you give something like a short period of time, it won't work out. So I think nowadays when there's so much information going around, the hardest part is to cut all the noise and to really ask yourself, okay, which are the things that I can see myself doing for a long time without expecting any immediate financial reward.
Sure.
Those 1, 2, or 3, those are the ones to tackle on.
Yeah, perfect. That's great advice. Thanks, mate. In terms of the pandemic, I guess, has that changed your attitude towards photography in general? Has it changed your attitude towards how the business structure should work?
Towards photography, I think towards life, it made me appreciate even more. It made me appreciate even more photography as well, because for a long time, we weren't able to travel for more than 5Ks and to go and photograph a new landscape or to have a new experience. Let's not even talk about like international travel. So I think if the pandemic hasn't changed the way you see your life, that's already, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to business, I think it really made me realize even more how things are becoming digital and how less important it is to have like a physical shop or like a physical store, that you can definitely make a living just by working online. And even like big businesses have been moving to just like e-commerce or to more like digital presence. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. And that comes to like diversifying your income. Most of the examples I was pointing out before, most of them you can do them online, just by setting up a print store or by like coming up with like digital products, which they could be related to not to photography. But once you have a personal brand, you have the audience to want to create something that resonates with you.
Absolutely, yeah. In terms of your personal photography, moving away from the business side a little bit, are you doing a lot of planning for your shoots, or is it, on the spur of the moment that you go to Black Spur, you just say, all right, this morning looks good, the forecast last night sounded nice, let's go, or is it more planned and more, do you do it more with intent?
It varies. Probably lately more planning, just because I was working on a video to deliver to DJI, and that was one of the reasons why I went to the Black Sport. So I wanted to touch on different spots in Victoria. Sure. I only have like a 2 weeks deadline to get the content, edit, and deliver. So those 14 days, they were already planned out to go to Grampians, go to Black Sport. I didn't plan as much what to get there, because I only wanted to get the environment and the atmosphere from that place. I knew by flying a drone at golden hour, I was definitely going to get something valuable to show to highlight the beauty of the place. Then on what I'm working on with like performers and athletes, that's definitely planned out. I have like mood boards or ideas on mine that I like how they look all together. So whenever I go with like a basketball player or like ballet dancer, I know we don't have that much time. So those 35 minutes we get with like each battery, I want to experiment as much as possible with their silhouettes, with shapes, and with different stuff. Sometimes the reason the vision comes really into life the same way. Some other times I actually ended up shooting something completely unexpected, but it looked even better than what I had on mine. But it's good to have a plan, and then it's also good to have the flexibility to adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your most memorable experience that you've had out shooting?
Well, I would probably say in Vietnam, in Southeast Asia. And that was just really my first stage getting into photography. And it was that time when I was shooting everything with a nifty 50, as I told you.
Yep.
But we're motorcycling for a week in Ha Giang, which is a northern region in Vietnam. That place was so untouched at the moment. Like, you could tell like the surprise from the local that just by watching us.
Yeah.
They haven't seen that many tourists in a long time. Everything felt so raw, so natural. Like, I could see people like crossing the unofficial border from China to Vietnam, which for them there wasn't even a border, it was just like the town next door, but they went to shop to the other town because it was slightly cheaper, you know?
Yeah.
And you get to see that broken fence and people going through there. And to me, it was like mind blowing. I actually couldn't believe what it was. And to me, to document all that, it really has no value. Like, I see those pictures, those images, and yeah, they do tell a story to me. And also they tell a story of like a stage of my life, which I was really discovering myself by discovering other cultures and documenting them. So it was a nice blend.
Fantastic. What about some horror stories? There surely must be something that's memorable that you didn't like.
Oh, every time I crash a drone, which I had, unfortunately, I had like 3 or 4 of those. Yeah, one was we're doing a photo shoot with a tennis theme. I had this amazing idea to like just get a top-down view from the tennis player. There was only one tree, I think, coming out from one of the corners, like a really minor one. And I didn't pay any attention at all. I know I gave for granted we were in an open space. Whenever I just like took off, I didn't pay much attention. Then I saw my drone just like hanging on top of the tree, and then it fell off. I was really close to get it, and I couldn't. And I didn't have any insurance at the moment. So that's something I would like to recommend to other fellow droners. Like, if you have like an expensive one, just get insurance.
Can you get insurance for it falling out of the sky? Because I've heard it's a fairly regular occurrence.
Yeah, well, there's always like a blurry line, but if you got insurance either from the brand that makes the drones, we don't want to do free marketing, or maybe like an insurance for all your gear. That's important because it's really valuable.
Absolutely. What have you learned about the world through photography?
The what, sorry?
What have you learned about the world through photography?
That we're all different, but at the end we're all the same. Like, it doesn't matter our language, or it doesn't matter where we come from. Like, sometimes a simple gesture like eye contact or a smile, that really makes a whole difference. And I think it's really important to be kind. We tend to be a bit kinder when we travel because we're in a good mood and we want to like explore every single corner and connect with people. But that's something we can definitely apply on a daily basis in your hometown or at your workspace. And then the other thing that I learned, that every single moment is precious and we need to cherish. And like, photography has given us the chance to do so, and that's why I like it. They're basically frozen memories that then we can take with ourselves.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that. How did you, I guess, learn photography and processing? Were you self-taught, or did you have any mentors that you turned to for advice?
Yeah, camera settings. I guess nowadays we all do the same. Is YouTube. Sure. I was actually listening to Rachel's podcast this morning because she was explaining her process, and to me it's quite similar. When I have any doubts, any questions, I just go into YouTube.
Yep.
It might take me like 2 or 3 attempts to get to the right info or to someone who explains the way I like it.
Yeah.
But everything's there, like we're so lucky, like we have so much information just really handy to us. So if you want to learn something, if you have the will, you will definitely do it.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. Then when it comes to editing, I think like all the hours that you put onto the editing, that really helps. Of course, I have people that I really look up to in the landscape or travel space, like George Hammond, even Harry Pope. He also like he works together with George. People that really like their styles, and then eventually I took stuff from like each of them, and then I apply the things that I like, which are like really colors that they represent nature, like greens, blues, oranges. Those are things I want to play around. And also it evolves over time, you know. I think as we change, our style changes, but I think the essence remains the same.
Yeah, fair enough. It's that's really good. In terms of your process and your workflow, I guess from the time you've done a bit of planning, time you get on site, what does that workflow look like? Are you scouting around and trying to work compositions, or do you just plonk the tripod down or put the drone up and off you go and you work from there?
At this moment, it's trying to find locations that haven't been that discovered, at least in Victoria.
Yep.
I've been lucky to travel a fair bit around the state, so it gets harder and harder, but there are some hidden gems to discover.
Sure.
So I always have like a kind of like a cheat sheet on my Google Maps with some locations that I've been to or I want to visit again, and then we got Google Earth to try to find different patterns or textures, and that helps quite a lot to the aerial photography. And I like when I get to travel with our creatives, because we can just collaborate on site and just play around with ideas that we get on mind, and to see how they look like.
Okay, so what about processing when you when you've got the shots in the bag and you're ready to go? Are you just bringing them home? It sounds a bit like you'd leave them on your hard disk for a while from what you were saying.
Some of them, yeah. I actually have plenty of them to catch up for the past month. But even just by watching at the camera on the day, I know which 2, 3, or 5 they really look like on point.
Yep.
And those are the ones I want to get back on straight away. Sure. I first do like a main filter in Lightroom, so I get them all in the software. The ones they are blurry or like maybe like overexposed or underexposed, I might get rid of them. And then I start to give them like 5 stars to the ones I really like, and I end up working in those ones. As I said, when I have the time, if it's a weekend, I go onto them straight away, because I feel they're fresher and you can still remember how you felt at that moment or how it felt. And then I think it's important to give each picture its own time, playing with like selective filters like gradients, play with the light that you have, and I think when you actually put the hours on the picture, you can definitely tell the difference.
Yeah. So sounds like your editing workflow's fairly extensive, and I don't want to go into the secret sauce so much, but I mean, how many hours would you spend on a shot that you're particularly keen on?
I guess an hour could be. I start playing with Lightroom. I do like a basic color grading. I try to play with some local adjustments, and then I go into Photoshop where I can tweak a bit more some colors and apply a bit more like advanced techniques.
Yep.
And then probably going back into Lightroom, I'll let it sit for a few hours, or maybe for a day, and then the day after I go into it, and if I like it, that's a win. If I don't like it, it's well.
Nobody says it, so
like sometimes you need to take a break and get pressurized. But
to be honest, I think that's one of the best things about photography is that if you don't want it, nobody sees you fails.
I know, isn't it? Or if you post on Instagram, it's the same, like no one's gonna watch it anyway. So
That's right. Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you do.
Definitely feeling that way at the moment.
We all are, Grant. We all are.
Yeah. Mind you, it feels that way on most of the socials. Funnily enough, the most engagement I'm getting at the moment is on Facebook.
Oh, really?
Which is hilarious, but anyway.
It might become vintage, like those things like after a few years they come back on trend,
Yeah, you never know. You never know. To be honest, though, I'm right at the moment. I'm posting quite a bit of stuff, which is probably off-brand for myself. It's more a proper landscape, softer landscape shot than what people that follow me are used to with the seascaping and so forth. So, I could attribute it to that. I'm not sure. Speaking about that, how do you deal with disappointment? And have you ever hit a creative wall, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, probably try to do something else completely different to being on a screen, or to even sometimes, to be honest, I could be frustrated with photography or like with like a business outcome, but like the first thing that comes to my mind is to actually pick up a camera and to go and shoot just for fun.
Yep.
I'm likely to live close to the CBD. Street photography was something that I really like it when I just started. So doing that with my camera and just shooting for fun at night on a wet, cold night in Melbourne, which is quite often.
You get plenty of opportunity.
I know, isn't it? It's something that brings me back to the early days. It makes me feel so good. At the same time, I'm a big sports lover, so anything that comes like shaking the body, like playing tennis, playing soccer,
sure.
That really gets the creative juices flowing, and I feel much more inspired to then go back onto the computer and then to tackle a project or edit a video, or sometimes to try a new vision. Yeah.
Do you print much of your work?
I do, yeah. I do have set up a print store. So yeah, I try to update it I'll probably say like twice a year. I always try to make sure like I got my best work out there. As my style changes also, like over time, I always try to have something that really speaks for my current work. And yeah, I do love it. I think I got that from my mom, that she's an interior designer. I do really like to have prints on the wall, as you can see here.
Yep.
I think they're really, the way we decorate our places is really important. It speaks for ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Any tips are you printing yourself, or are you using a print service?
I used to at the beginning, but then it was a bit of a hassle to do all the process. So at the moment, I'm working with a third party who they take over the printing and the shipping. So basically, every order that comes through my website, I just send that to the printer. They do all the shipping, the delivery.
Right.
To be honest, it makes it much easier, and like the quality is amazing. And it's a win-win.
Yeah, no, that's great. Any tips for people that are looking to print their work, and what they need to think about in terms of preparing the image and working with their supplier? Yeah,
from the editing perspective, making sure that you check the same image in different places if you have the chance, because sometimes like cell phones, they don't display the same way as a laptop or as an external monitor. So try to make sure the colors, they look as accurate as you want it to show. Something I learned a little bit later, especially with aerial photographer, because cameras, they don't have the same resolutions to with drones. There are some plugins that you can use to kind of like expand the size of the file, so you get more quality.
Increase the resolution. Yep.
Yeah, and that has helped quite a lot to upscale the quality of my drone images.
Yeah, yeah. I've been using Topaz AI and found that quite good for upscaling if I've needed it. Occasionally you get a client that wants something super large, and it means you've got to, even with the I've got a 26 megapixel camera. Even with that, sometimes you got to increase from there, and
Yeah, wow, crazy.
yeah, it does a really good job, I think, of that scaling up because of the way that it handles the AI. I guess, talking about that, what do you see as one of the biggest challenges facing photographers right now?
Well, that everyone is a photographer nowadays, like
Yeah.
cell phones have come here to make photography more accessible to everyone, which is amazing. I find that is great. But at the same time, it has damaged the industry a little bit because it has become normal that everyone with a phone or with just a basic camera can do some photography. Then the quality of the work, it varies. Some people, they do amazing work with a cell phone. Even you can do like films and movies nowadays with a phone.
Mm-hmm.
But those are people, they already have an understanding of lighting, composition, and settings. They also working for free is one of the main things we need to tackle on, because I think it's great to give value. I think we all should give value and
Absolutely,
work to expand a portfolio, but we have to be really clever with who we're going to work for portfolio. Because usually the big companies, the ones that actually have the budget, are the ones that are trying to get the most free marketing out of it. We all have like this part of our ego that we say, okay, like I want to say that I work with this company, but at some point, I think we're also damaging the industry a little bit as well. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that if we're going to collaborate with another company or another business, is because we're giving something, but we're also getting something back, because it has to be a transaction. It could be like just a transaction in value. It doesn't have to be financial.
Yeah, definitely.
At this point, I much rather go and collaborate with an independent artist, which could be like a dancer or singer, and go out do something with them, because I identify myself much more with them. There are people trying to make a living out of their art.
Yeah.
Whereas going and do some work for someone, which I know the only reason why they want it is because it's for free.
Yeah.
When people, the only reason why they want something is for free, they don't find any value in that.
Yeah. How do you price your work? That seems to be a struggle for all photographers, is trying to work out, how do you sort of set a value on your work? And I know a lot of that is really dependent on whether or not you're talking about corporate work or, small business work or individual work, and, in terms of the client. But also the work and the effort that goes into it has to come into consideration as well, because, somebody says, oh, I want a 30-minute video, for example, that's, as you well know, that's going to take 2 or 3 hours of footage, if not more. Yeah. Plus then 20 or 30 hours of editing to bring it down to that 15 and hone it into a saleable product. And that's not something that you can just sort of give away. I guess how do you go into pricing your work? Do you get that detailed, or do you just sort of make it up as you go along?
No, I have always a rough idea what's the worth of my work. Then I have a way to break it down for myself, where I can put like in different genres, like how much I had to like devote on like paying for licenses to edit, or like how much I had to like devote to taxis or stuff like that. That usually all together in an Excel that comes out with a number which I know that allows me to operate with a profit and not just covering the cost. Then of course, everything is flexible according to what's the project, according to how big is the client or not. But I think just to make it up as you go, it can work at the beginning, and I think we all try to wing it at the beginning, but then at some point it is more beneficial for you and also makes you look a bit more professional. So I don't tend to like just tell the prices on a message or on a phone conversation. I rather send a proposal where I can actually break down the different ideas I have and what's the solution to their problem. Because I think like it's good to like when you work with businesses or with other people, like to try to unlock what's the issue that they want to resolve with the photography. Because one of the things I see a lot in small businesses in Australia is like they don't have a digital presence. So like we can do the most beautiful video, the most beautiful set of pictures, but if no one watches it, like what's the point, you know? So I think it's really important to think about like creating the content or creating the art and then how you distribute it. And that comes with marketing. So as photographers or creators, we also need to start learning, or we also need to be marketeers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the skills that a lot of people, sort of struggle with when they're coming at it from a creative perspective. They're good at creating the product, but they're not necessarily great at getting the word out there and letting people know about it. And that's always going to be a challenge. In terms of financially, are you setting yourself a monthly or a quarterly budget that you want to try to meet, or is it you just take business as it comes and hope that you've got enough left over to feed yourself and house yourself?
Well, I personally know exactly what do I need for a living. So I'm happy to have a few regular gigs that those are my bread and butter. And then I like to give myself like the chance to work in projects that maybe like in the financial way they're no as paid, but I know I like them, or it's working with them. I think it really adds to the way I want to take my career. But I think once you want to do this for a job, you need to be clever and you need to know how much you need to not only cover the costs, but also to have a profit at the end of the month.
Yeah, that's it. If you haven't got any spending money at the end, okay, you might make your rent, you might make your electricity payment, but you're not going to go out and have a beer.
If you can't pay the petrol, it's getting
that's it. If you can't pay the petrol, you're not going anywhere.
But that's another skill that comes with the time. Just if you weren't that good in like managing your finances, well, that's something that you also need to add to the toolbox, because it's going to be fundamental.
Absolutely. What's the best thing about being a photographer?
Having a camera. Probably having that inner child that comes to visit you every time you have it, and it makes you feel good, like, whereas probably for a singer or for any other artist it will be the same, like I get a chance to express myself. I think that is so important. We live in a world that we have so many commitments and we have so many things that we need to do or we need to perform. Having those times for yourself to really express your feelings or to reconnect with your inner child, that is priceless. That is absolutely priceless.
Speaking of the inner child, what advice would you give to your 10-year-old self?
Learn about marketing. I would probably say like just be more confident in yourself, or like just do you. I was really shy when I was a kid, really shy, really introvert, which I'm quite the opposite right now. I'm probably like everything's temporary. Like every big issue at the time, like everything's gonna go. It's gonna be like some good, some bad times, but like just keep going, keep moving. And yeah, life is for living.
Fantastic. I love it. If you weren't a photographer, what would you be?
Football, soccer player for sure.
Okay.
Until the age of 16, I was convinced, Grant, I was going to be a football player.
Play for Argentina, become the next Maradona?
Not the next Maradona. I was more like a midfielder. I wasn't as gifted. But I was good. I'm still good. But yeah, probably until the age of 16, like my only thing on mind was to be a football player.
Wow.
And I think the only reason that stopped me was like, I think I got injured, and then I started to like go out with my friends, and like you don't want to go and play football on Saturday morning anymore. And
Yep.
it's a huge sacrifice to become a football player.
Oh, the commitment required is incredible. Yeah. Particularly if you want to get into professional football, it's just incredible. A friend of mine, his son is, I think he's represented Australia in under 21s, something like that. And, just the amount of effort and work. I mean, he's now about 18, but I know, from working with this guy, just the years of sacrifice and effort that they put in, driving around the country, taking him to football games and tournaments and whatever, it was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the sacrifice of your family, like taking you to like football matches in the morning, which they do it because they love you. But yeah, I'll probably like every single kid in Argentina, if they like sports, they're gonna tell you that I want to be a football player. Like first because like everyone likes to play football, and second is like one of the most profitable careers back home.
Absolutely.
I would say. Yeah. But yeah, well then that happened. Maybe in another life, I will become Maradona.
Fair enough. So, are there any photographers out there that you think I should be talking to on the podcast?
Yeah, there is. Well, if you haven't spoken to Mer Watson,
she's on my list. I tapped her again the other day actually, and I haven't got a response back from her. So
yeah,
just waiting.
She probably will. She's been really nice. She's been really nice to everyone. Tom Kwan.
Yeah.
I do like his work. He's really
he's incredible too. Yeah,
his work is really fine and elegant. I think he's not even aware of how good he is. Yeah, because every time I tell him like, man, such a clean edit, like, so it's like, what do you mean with clean? Like, can you make a naughty edit? Like, well, yeah, I've seen some of those. And he's a great guy as well. I would probably say he's a good friend of mine, Franco Torres. I can take his details. He does really good photography as well.
Yeah.
He's on Twitter, so I can send you his profile, and then you have a
look. That'll be good.
Fantastic. And yeah, those three.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for that. Well, as we're coming to the end of the recording, I've got one more question, which you probably know is coming, and for some, it's the most important question. Do you like pineapple on pizza?
Oh no, Grant. we should have started like that, and I will probably stop the record. And
I'm neutral. I'll eat it if it's there, but if it's not there,
you can't be neutral on that. You can't be neutral on that. Come on. No, I do not like it. We have great pizza in Argentina. Like we come from Italians, so we have like really, really great pizza. There's no way in a traditional pizza place in Buenos Aires you'll get pineapple. Like I know that the best pizza places, you ask for pineapple, they kick you out.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, Santiago. It's been really great to get to know you and learn a bit more about how you do what you do. And I really appreciate the time that you've taken with me tonight. It's been great.
No, thank you, man. It was a pleasure. I was a little bit tired when I came here. It was a huge day, but now I feel like much more energized. So
Fantastic.
it's awesome. I had a great time.
Good to hear. Where can people find your work?
Well, on Twitter, Instagram is GR Visuals, and also in my own website, which is sgrmedia.com.au, and it's all there.
No worries. I'll include links on the show notes as well, so everyone can find your stuff. So thanks once again, mate.
Awesome. Pleasure. Have a good end of the week.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again for listening to Landscape Photography World. I hope you enjoyed the show, and keep listening because I'll be joined by some great guests in upcoming episodes. You can find my work in this podcast at grantswinburnephotography.com. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm Grant Swinburne. Hope to see you out shooting soon.